Well, what's up, again there, guys? Brian here, D3 Topics Gamer, here to give you another episode of my weekly Q&A titled People's Questions or Answers, a series of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. For this particular episode, we have another episode of just about 4 questions. There were a number of other questions. They were much more simpler and easier, so I was able to answer them in the comment section of the last video. So if you haven't already checked your notifications to see if your question was one of those that I already answered, be sure to check the previous video and see your answer there. And like always, before I start answering these 4 questions, if you happen to be new to the channel or like this type of content, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and press the subscribe button so you keep track of me and my future content. And starting off with the first question, all of these are regulars, so welcome back, everybody. First one comes from Brady Burke, and you want to know, have I ever gotten to a point in my life where I feel unfulfilled or unsatisfied with the success and achievements? Absolutely. I'm in it right now. I feel very unfulfilled and unsatisfied with what I've done, especially when I've compared it to other people I know and people I've been related to that have been able to achieve far more than I have at a much younger age. I mean, I'm constantly, people keep telling me how much, I look like my dad, and I realize, by the time my dad was my age, he'd been all around the world. He had survived 2 tours through Vietnam, and I mean on the front lines. He had been married and divorced, and he was maybe a year and a half away from having his first kid. And yet here I am in this just pathetic position right now that I've been just dying to try to get out of. And I'm like almost to the point of being desperate to do just anything just to get out of the situation I am right now. And I just can't seem to find the proper direction or the person who can show me the proper direction to get out of my current situation. And that has put me in a very depressive state right now. So yeah, Brady, I am not satisfied with anything I've done so far. I mean, even hitting 60,000 subscribers. I mean, trust me, that is a good achievement for me, but heck, there are people that can do that in like a day or a week or a year. I've been at this for 8 years, and I'm not saying I'm not appreciated because I've done more with this channel than I thought I ever could have when I started this channel. But heck, when I compare what I've been able to do with other people that seem to have just more talent and they're smarter and just have a much better direction, I do feel very disappointed in my life as it is right now. Next question comes from Goro Akechi, and you want to know, if I was the Patriots GM, what 3 things would I improve? Well, that's easy. Number 1, I'd get a different quarterback. I would not sign Cam Newton to a 2nd year. He is not the quarterback we need to move forward. Second, I would make sure that all of our main defensive players come back. The fact that they opted out means our defense just cannot really stop any of the really good teams. And number 2, or actually number 3, I would try to get some young, really hungry receivers. I think our running game is pretty good, but I think the problem is that Cam Newton needs receivers that are just not veterans. A lot of our wide receivers are older, and so they probably are in like the last maybe 2-3 years of their career before I can see most of them retiring. So you really need to start bringing in some new receivers that can actually connect with a quarterback that they can actually really connect with. And I just don't see our offense in that position. I think, as I said before, I think our running game is really, really good. And at times it can definitely get a lot of really major penetration. But in terms of against the much tougher defenses in the league, we're just not in a good position. I said before this season, I believe that the Patriots would have no question, even under Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, we would have back-to-back losing seasons. But after everything that I've seen, it is very much possible we could have 3, maybe 4 back-to-back losing seasons. I think the Bills are going to dominate this division probably for the next 4 or 5 years. I think this will be their league. And now that the Dolphins are really starting to improving, we have officially entered a new era of the AFC East, and I do not think it is going to be a division that the Patriots will be able to dominate. If they're going to win this division anytime in the near future, they're going to have to seriously start fighting hard, and I just don't see that team doing that in the foreseeable future. Okay, next question comes from JBat. You want to know, would I recommend paying for the PlayStation 5 at GameStop with installment plans? You're asking the wrong person because I don't plan to get a PlayStation 5 for at least like another 6 months. And when I get one, I'm going to pay for it in full. Like, I'm not going to start saving up for one until January. So I would just say get the PlayStation 5 whenever you can. I mean, if you can't, if you feel like doing payments, go ahead and do it. If you don't want to do that and you want to pay for it in full so you don't have to worry about payments, then do that. So you get the PlayStation 5 however you want. And the last question of the episode comes from Cinevic, and this question kind of connects with the first question I had. And you want to know, what is my biggest regret or life choice? And if I could go back in time, what would I do to make things different? I think one of my biggest regrets is going into game design for college. Before I went to college, I've always been a big gamer, and I thought it would be really, really cool to actually start creating and designing video games. So I went to a college, that's no longer there anymore. And it was all over G4, so that's why I went to that particular college. And I went through the whole process for game design, got through it, and when I was done with it, I realized that game design and making video games was not what I wanted to do at all. I wanted to be in the gaming industry in some fashion, but it was not in development and design. And so what ended up happening was I spent all this time and all this money and all these resources into a degree that I just did not, into a profession that I ended up not wanting to be a part of. And now that it's been 8 years since I was even in college, all of that knowledge is completely gone. So it's funny that I had all that student debt, and that was the reason that stopped me from trying to go into another college, is because I didn't want to be put in a position where I had two different amounts of student loans to worry about. I mean, it took me like 6 years to pay off the student loan for the first college, and that's what helped me out. And I didn't want to have to worry about two different colleges, so I would probably tell myself that you need to go towards this part of the gaming industry, because you kind of were already doing the first parts of it while you were in high school. You didn't even know it, and when you start doing your YouTube channel, you start using the skills that you were actually using. And I think if we had started soon enough, we actually could have easily have gotten ourselves into the door, and we probably would be in a much better position in life. So that's probably the biggest regret. It would be going into game design instead of another area in the gaming industry. That's what I would tell. That's one thing I would absolutely change and do regret doing. So that about does it for this episode of the People's Questions. I'd like to thank the 4 of you, as well as everyone else that sent in your questions in the comment section of the last video. If you guys have any other questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below, but make sure to get them into me before Wednesday around noon, before I start filming the next episode. And you guys know the parameters of what you need to do if you want to help increase your chances of having your question answered in the video, as opposed to being entered in the comment sections of this video. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.